What a wonderful
Such a treat to have you
No,
here.
it's so fun to be in your apartment too.
I know. This is like how I like the vibes to be, very chill, very relaxed.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I feel like this is how I actually get to know people.
Yeah, and also it's nice because normally you're in like a stuffy studio.
I know.
And this is just us.
I know. I
Yeah.
hope you can like be comfy and
I'm
cuddled
into
up.
your sofa.
Yeah. So I want to get into how we met because I have to do this with all of my guests. I think it was just through Lemi, but I knew who you were before.
Well, and I knew who you were before too, obviously. I just didn't know. I'm trying to think, like, were we at an event? And then
I don't know. I remember seeing DMs from you, and I don't know if that was our first interaction or if we met at an event.
I probably DM'd you out of like left field, maybe to come to the Alta Lemi dinner.
Oh yeah, and I couldn't go.
And you couldn't go.
Yeah.
And then you came to the Lemi sleep dinner
Yes.
like 8 months ago.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
God, it was already 8 months ago.
Or wait, no, maybe it was
No.
February. It was like 4 months ago.
It feels like it was like yesterday, weirdly.
It's insane. This whole year, I just feel like 2024 is flown.
I don't like it.
Yeah, it scares me.
I really don't like it, especially because, it's like I'm getting older and I don't like that. I don't like it.
Oh my God, you are not going to say that when you're my age.
I know. My mom always yells at me. She's
Yeah.
like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
No, but 27's the best age.
Is it?
Yeah, because you're an adult, but you could still make mistakes.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Because I'm still in my mistake making era.
Yeah.
Like for sure.
Am I allowed to ask, are you
Yeah, of
single?
course. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm grossly single.
No, but 27 single, you have
It's
great
really
best.
fun.
And I met your best friend who I love, and I'm forgetting his name.
Rob.
He's amazing.
Oh, he's like my ride or die.
Yeah.
Like he is the one that I go out with. I go to
Yeah.
dinners with. We have so much fun together, and he's single too.
Yeah, you guys have good energy together.
We have great energy
Yeah.
together. He literally was like, "Oh my God, Simon's coming on. Like, can I come today and say hi? Like, he loves you."
And doesn't he live in the building?
No, he doesn't. He lives in Soho.
Okay.
But like
okay.
close enough. I was with him. My dad came to the city yesterday to get a present for my mom for their anniversary.
Okay.
And Rob has to come with, help out.
Stop.
Like, he's the best
How
friend
did you
ever.
meet him?
Through a mutual friend.
Okay. Yeah, he's a good one. Good
Yeah,
energy.
I know. He's literally the best. It's hard to find people in the city.
It is. Finding friends in the city has been like a 20-year journey for me.
Yeah.
And the friends that I have, I've literally had for
the
20
20
for the
years.
full 20 years. It's
Yeah.
really hard to make new friends.
It's crazy.
Especially because you have experiences, especially when I moved to New York working in entertainment, you don't really know kind of what you're getting in the beginning of these
Yeah.
friendships. So the ones that I've had forever, and they are my chosen family.
When did you move here?
So I was finishing a psychology degree I'm Canadian, and I saw an article about a woman named Lizzie Grubman, who was a famous publicist. And she had actually gone to jail for running over people in the Hamptons.
No way.
And MTV was doing a TV show on her. It was basically an unscripted show about 7 girls that worked in an office in Soho at this PR company. And I saw the article in Us Weekly, and I was like, wow, like I want to work for her.
No way.
I was 20 years old, and I picked up the phone and I called her office, and I moved 3 months later. I got an internship, an unpaid internship, which they don't even allow anymore.
Yeah, no.
Like you have to pay. But at
Yes.
the time, like I was just lucky to be getting her
Yeah.
coffee. And so that was 20 years ago.
Wow. So how did you come to be now? Like where did that part of the industry take you? Like what was your journey?
It was such a different time. Like back then, PR and celebrity, like there wasn't the word influencer. It
Yeah.
was called like tastemaker or industry leader.
That's so interesting.
Or socialite.
Socialite, I was gonna
So
say.
the term socialite, like we had a socials list in our office where there were 100, 200 women, men who were like considered like the socials of New York City, of Palm Beach, of LA. And you would invite them to parties. You would invite them to the opening of restaurants, to nightclubs. Like it was a thing. And
that was
those
an influencer.
pictures of these socials would appear in like the New York Post. Like that does not happen anymore.
No.
It's all celebrities. Like
Yeah.
celebrity has completely dominated the market. But at the time, that was the world. And Lizzie was partners with someone named Jonathan Chevin, who's since changed his name to Food God. And so I became his assistant, like within the first 6 months of working for Lizzie.
Wow.
And that was how my career started.
Okay, first of all, I need to know who were like some of the people on the socialite list. Like, who were like the names that you would always like meet at places?
So some of these names you may like know. So Tinsley Mortimer, when I first started, like Tinsley was the girl.
She's a housewife, right?
She went on Housewives,
right?
but
Tinsley.
at the time that like I was working at Lizzie's, she was a socialite and she was married to this guy named Topper Mortimer who had some sort of fancy lineage. I don't remember what. And so there was Tinsley, and then there was this woman named Fabiola. Like there was like all these girls that kind of ran New York City. And Tinsley was very much thought of as like the Paris Hilton of socialites. And then of course Paris and Nikki were on the scene back then in a huge way, but they started to morph into celebrity.
Yeah.
And especially when Paris did Simple Life, that changed her trajectory altogether.
Yeah. Then that's like, so your people were more New York socialite, but were you contacting celebrities too? Or was it more like you're in charge of like getting these socialites?
We were in charge of celebrities, VIPs, all of it. But it wasn't as celebrity obsessed as it is now.
Yeah. Cause it's so interesting to like think of how it was then. I don't know.
Yeah, it was so different.
Yeah.
And I think the power dynamic has changed so much. Like
Totally.
front row at New York City Fashion Week was top tier celebrities and socialites.
Yeah.
And like fashion socialites.
Yeah.
And they were the ones going to different fashion houses and borrowing clothing and borrowing jewelry. And that has just completely changed, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
I think for better.
Yeah.
Like there's something about that era back then, which was very exclusive and felt, I was from Canada and didn't really know anything.
Yeah.
It felt very elitist.
Yeah.
And there has been this like democratization of celebrity.
It is true.
That is refreshing.
Yeah.
Where like you don't need to have this fancy last name and pedigree to make it to whatever show in any country in the world. You can really just move around for the most part, as an influencer.
Yeah, and it's kind of like your followers determine how people treat you, which is also kind of a weird, bizarre thing.
I mean, it's all a little Black Mirror.
It totally is.
I think there's like a fine line of how we treat just celebrity and that culture of obsession.
Yeah.
And but it's very interesting to see over the last 20 years. And then, of course, when you look at like reality stars and the Kardashians, and when I started, it was the Hills. Like when I was working at 22, 23, like Lauren Conrad had an army of devoted followers. And what I think is interesting about Lauren is that she built this whole empire and then said, you know what, like this isn't actually what I want in my life. And she now lives somewhat a remote life away from all of it.
Which I think is the way to do it.
Oh, I think not only is it like a great decision if it's not for you, there's something also very chic about having access to all of it and saying, you know what, this isn't for me. This is not the life that I want.
I agree. I think it's like, it is. It's very chic. It's very classy.
Yeah, it's very classy.
Yeah. I don't know. She has a way about her that I like respect it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And she built an incredible brand, and I think she probably still has a line at Kohl's.
Yeah, she like has
yeah.
a ton
so I think she's probably still doing.
She's probably
fine. Period.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because that was the beginning of it, and there was a lot of industry people back then who worked in entertainment who would look at reality stars and budding influencers and say, oh well, that's not real.
Yeah.
You know, that's certainly not elevated. They're never going to be invited to X show or X movie premiere.
Yeah.
And it is crazy the shift.
I know. How did you know to get on board with that though? Because like you were there from the beginning, you saw the shift.
Yeah, I didn't know. You don't know. Like you're in it and you're living for it and you're a part of it. But I certainly didn't have like the foresight to say, oh, well, this is what the world's going to become.
Yeah.
You could start to see that the consumer was looking for shows that they related to. Like you saw it with the Newlyweds. We were all like hypnotized by that show with Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey. You're like, what's that show?
But is it chicken or tuna?
Okay. So you know, and then And then the Osbournes.
Probably my followers are like, what the fuck?
Yeah, they're like, what are these shows? But this is the beginning of all of
The
it.
Osbournes, yeah, totally.
The Osbournes,
totally.
and then, of course, the Kardashians.
Yes.
And so all of these shows started to create this world of pop culture that we know now.
Yeah. How did you get involved now? Like, I feel like people know you from the Kardashians a lot. People recognize you from that. How did that come to be? And like, fill in the blank, fill in the space.
No. I'll fill it all in. So I met Chloe. Chloe was Nicole Richie's assistant.
Right.
And I was Jonathan Chebin's assistant. And so Chloe and I met very, very early on. And I mean, Chloe's personality is the same as it was 20 years as it is today. She's the absolute fucking best. And so we immediately became friends.
Yeah.
Although she lives in LA, so I really never saw her. And then I met Kim at an event in New York, maybe 2006, 2007. This is pre her show.
Yeah.
At the time, she was a closet organizer, and she had Smooch, which was her store in Calabasas.
Right. Okay.
And we just became friends. We would go to events together, and then I remember the day that Ryan Seacrest offered her and her family a show. I forget what the name of the show was going to be. I think it was different than what it was Keeping Up with the Kardashians. And that was, 17, 18 years ago.
Wow.
And so we maintained a friendship, and we also did deals together. I was in PR for the first 5 or 6 years of my career, and then I started an agency that helped connect brands with celebrities.
Okay.
So when you see, for example, when you see a Super Bowl commercial and you see a celebrity like representing a shampoo, I am the agency that placed that celebrity.
Right, you're the middleman.
I'm the middleman. Yeah. We don't do it much for influencers, but we do it mostly for what we call traditional talent.
Huh. That's so interesting. How did you get started with that? Like,
it was just an evolution of the business model. We were in PR. And we talked about before we started recording, just like the agency model and clients and just PR and marketing in general. And I wasn't interested necessarily in like the day-to-day PR support. Although I think if people think of me, they think of me as a publicist, which I don't correct them because I'm not really a publicist. Although I started my career in PR. I'm much more of an entertainment marketer and understanding the power of what celebrity and influencer can do for a brand, especially when the alignment is right.
Yeah.
And I think all of us see that now when we see celebrities who start brands and we say, oh, that makes sense. Or there's this visceral reaction and you think, why on earth did celebrity X start a skincare brand?
Which it's happening so much lately.
Yeah. Yeah. And it gives you this like, you almost like recoil a little bit. You're like, why? Of all the things that you could launch.
Yeah.
And so that brand alignment I became really good at a very early age in my career, where I realized that like that perfect match, whether it's a spokesperson, endorser, or actually like a founder, is so critical for the success of a brand.
What were some moments where you felt like, because you're talking about all these things, I feel like it happened so organically and naturally for you, but what did you like think back in the day? Like, what did you think you were going to do? Or like, did you have a thought of like, where you thought you were going to end up?
I mean, I thought that I was going to be a lawyer. I went to school for psychology. It felt like a talk track to say, oh, I want to go to law school. Because like that's what intellectual people at my school were saying they wanted to do.
Right.
And everything I had heard from an early age about going into marketing or entertainment was, A, you couldn't get into the world without like a famous last name or connections. And I was random from Canada.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have any connections to anyone in entertainment. I didn't have money or a trust fund to get me here. So I had no idea how I was going to afford to even come to a city like New York. So I didn't really have big expectations. My expectations were get the internship, last 3 months. That's what I kept saying is get 3 months in and then that experience will shape your career.
Yeah.
And then 3 months turned to 6 months, 6 months turned to 12 months. And I haven't ever looked back. I left my university dorm with all my furniture in it, thinking I was going to come back 3 months later. And I never came back.
That's so crazy. It's something to say about you being confident in yourself and like trusting your gut a little bit too. You had to have had some type of innate like
I think I had this, which like maybe we all have when we're a little bit younger, pre-social media,
Yeah.
where I just didn't know. I think if I had TikTok or Instagram and I saw how other people were living, I would be so intimidated. Like I didn't
Yeah.
know real wealth until I came to New York City.
Yeah.
Like I thought I grew up like just normal middle. I mean, you come to New York City and you see all these people and you see how they're living and it's so over the top.
Yeah.
And I was so intimidated. I felt like I would walk into rooms at 20 or 21 and people, you would shake their hand and they wouldn't even look at you in the eyes.
It's crazy.
And that happened for years.
Wow.
It really, it happened until I started to grow my career. Obviously, I had relationships with people who at the time were not famous,
Yeah.
who went on to be some of the most famous people in the world. And boy, do you remember. You remember the people who don't look at you in the eyes when you're the intern. And then 7-8 years later, when you're associated with influential people, how they are just a different
to you.
people. And like I, to this day, can like remember moments where someone wouldn't even shake my hand at a dinner or would say something behind, you know, like they would make a comment behind my back. You remember those moments and then you
course.
remember when they come back and are
Yeah.
up your ass.
Yes, and they always want something, and you're like, I remember what you did.
Yeah. And I'm sure for you feel the same. Like before you, found your following and found your voice and found your community, like people treat you differently.
Yeah,
The people that don't though are your lifers.
I know. And so when you found your people, when you were in your early 20s, like how did you find your friends outside of your work stuff?
So all of my best friends are, I mean, obviously some friends are in entertainment or people that I've met along the way, but my closest friends are people that are not connected to the world at all.
Yeah.
I have like this gay family, a group of guys that are like my brothers and are lawyers and accountants and like, whatever.
Yeah.
They work in marketing. Like they're not connected to any of it.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's really important. It's one of the reasons why I've never been able to live in LA for a long period of time because it becomes a lot of industry talk.
It is.
Which I don't want to talk shop. I don't even want to talk. I don't even want them to know what that shop is.
I know. I agree. And that's how I've been too. I mean, obviously like I haven't had as much experience, but just like being in this city, you see the difference between, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's friends for different things.
Yeah.
But like I so resonate with what you're saying about your people that are like lawyers, like my best friend's a nurse practitioner.
Yeah.
She doesn't know anything about anyone and
all, and doesn't care.
Could care less. Like, and there's something so great about that.
Yeah. Especially in New York too, there's this opportunistic feel sometimes in relationships, and it doesn't feel great.
Yeah. How do you navigate when someone? I mean, maybe this happened more when you were younger, but like, how do you navigate a person that you feel like is in it for the wrong reasons, or like?
You kind of just know.
Yeah.
So your guard is up, and you keep them at arm's length. Or you don't, and you're just aware of what the relationship is. I think as I get older, I like manage my expectations of around like what certain relationships are going to be.
Yeah, it's so true. Like I can almost tell immediately now, like you can respect a person or really like a person, but like them for a certain thing, or like you just know realistically.
Like
what the
I got this
relationship is.
DM from someone yesterday, and I just knew, and this person's like a notable influencer, quasi celebrity person who's been around forever. And the conversation started like innocuous, like, "Hey, how are you? Like, I wanted to reach out."
What do you want?
I've heard about you through La 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 and heard such great things. And I was like, okay. and so I wrote back, and then like 3 paragraphs in, like the request came in. For something
You always know.
Yeah, I knew. It was like, could you get this and I'm like, oh, please, do you have to? I think all of us who get those type of requests, you kind of just sigh where you're like, oh.
Yeah. Especially I feel like because you're known for being surrounded by other notable people.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure you have a lot of experience with people you feeling used, or you feeling like someone's trying to get to you to get to someone.
Right. And it's just not, it's also some of the people that I have worked with, I don't work for, and I
Yeah.
don't, and are my friends.
Yeah.
So it's not. I think it's one thing when you're a manager and you represent talent. Those requests should be expected.
Yeah.
But when you're a friend of someone,
Yeah.
or you have a business with them, like that's a totally different situation.
Yeah. And I almost hate it's hard to, especially like when it's a true friend of yours who's like asks a request of you.
Right.
Because I've had, obviously this is on a lower level, but I've had experience with close friends that are like, hey, I know this person. Can you do this thing for this
Right.
person? And you're like, when do you say no? When
Right.
do you? Because you want to do favors for people.
Right.
You want to pay it forward.
Right. Would
but
you mind
where's-
posting the eyelashes?
where's
right.
the
and you're
line?
like, yeah.
Where's
like how
the
many
line?
more eyelashes can I post? Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
You
I
feel
don't use
bad.
them. Yeah. So it's hard to know like where the line
Yeah,
is.
it is. And you start to navigate it, and then you stop. And I feel like you have this too. You stop caring as much.
Yeah, I
You're like,
know.
okay, it's okay to say no.
Yeah.
It's okay if they're not going to like me because I
Yes.
said no, or if it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I'm okay living in that uncomfortable zone, which before I was not. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, but I really want them to like me. And
You have to be a little desensitized to that.
Yeah.
Have you gotten more desensitized to it, or do you still feel like you care a lot what other people think?
So I'm really good with people that I know and like the one-on-one relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Where I don't think I'll ever thrive is like I could never do what you do. Like I'm on social media, but I'm not actively creating content on
Right,
any
like
of
surrounding like you.
around me. Like I'm
Yeah.
creating it around the businesses that I'm
Right.
involved in and that I'm excited about, but I'm not. I think I would be really bothered if I like was posting things about me and my husband and like there were comments that weren't nice. Like I think that
Right.
I would open myself up to that criticism, and I wouldn't want that. I don't need that.
Yeah.
So I've chosen kind of to have a hard line around it.
I think it's the best way to be.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. And especially knowing yourself. Like if you
Yeah.
know yourself and you know you're going to be affected by it. And I always tell people, like, I always tell friends that are like, I want to be an influencer.
Yeah.
I'm like, you have to know yourself well enough
Yeah.
to know what is going to bother you and
Right.
like what's not.
And do you want that?
Yeah.
Like, I think there's this thing too where people see influencer and celebrity culture and they're like, oh, I need to get that. I need to get that. And then you have to ask yourself, like, do you really want it?
Yeah.
Because the most successful influencers, creators, or celebrities are people who really want it.
Yeah.
They thrive on it, and they're really good at
Yeah.
at handling that attention.
Yeah. Yeah. It is interesting because when you think of the top people like Kim or like Paris, like it's crazy how they handle
You're right.
what is thrown at them.
They're fine. They're not losing sleep over it.
And it's crazy.
They are completely desensitized to it. They can read a comment and they can go brush their teeth.
Yeah. And
Which for me, if I read the comment, I would be.
You would be-
No, spiraling.
no, I feel
Yeah.
that honestly.
Yeah.
Like with Kim, what have you learned from seeing that? Like, and just that family in general. I mean, seeing them go through this like insane level of fame.
I think they're very, very good experts at staying consistent to who they are, and also staying on track.
Yeah.
So some of us get criticism and we take the photo down.
Yeah.
Some of us get criticism and we change our behavior, or we change our hair, or we think of things that we could do to like address said criticism. They do none of that.
Yeah.
They stay consistent to who they are, and they very much live kind of in their bubble and are unaffected by all the outside. And the outside noises are so loud.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this before we started recording. Like the outside noises, like the criticism, not just for them, but for everyone, feels like at the all-time high.
It is. And it is for sure.
Like the comment section on the most innocuous posts on like a dog.
How dare you?
A dog leaping in the grass. Like
Literally.
It's like, you're abusing the
Yeah.
grass. I'm like, could we do like, it feels like we're in a zone right now, and I think we will come out of it because I've
Yeah.
seen this through like Twitter and Instagram. Like we do come out of these very dark zones, but
Yeah.
it does feel a little bit darker than it should.
Shit is dark right now.
Yeah.
It's hard to create when it's so dark
Yeah.
too, because you're just like it's demotivating.
It's demotivating. Yeah,
But-
I'm sure.
Yeah, but like it's also there's really something to be said about the way that they remain above it, and it's something I can take too. We all
Yeah.
can take, like, because when you engage,
Yeah.
you let them win.
Yes.
You let everyone else win.
Right.
So it's interesting how they're able to.
Do you, if you get a comment on your TikTok or Instagram, do you comment back or do you just let it?
Sometimes, like, it depends. See, like, if you catch me on a bad day, I'm sure it's like you too. It's like if someone makes a comment to you, even in person, like, if they get you on a bad day, you might snap.
Yeah.
Like, so it just depends. But I have a good, like, I'm very patient.
Yeah.
And usually I'm able to just ignore, especially just with everything going on in the world. I'm able to kind of ignore a lot of noise because everyone wants to say something.
Right. They all have opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's exhausting.
Yeah. But I'll use it as, like, people talk about my body a lot online, which is so stupid, but I'll use it as, like, content. And then the content will get views. So people are like, oh my God, like, don't be, I'm like, no, like, you're helping me. Like, you're literally giving me more content to create. By commenting, you're fat, you're ugly, you're this, you're that. Like, I'm like, okay, I'll create content out of this.
Right. Thank you for giving me like a great story.
Yeah, and thank you for the views. Now more people just followed me because they see my, like, views on body image and how I struggled before. So I think it's all helpful.
It's just Julia Roberts had that amazing, I forget if it was like a soundbite where she posted a picture of her and Emma Roberts. And she was talking, and it was just like a sweet photo of her at breakfast with her niece. And the photo went all across the internet with like the most hateful comments. And Julia Roberts said, I'm 54 years old, and I cannot believe how this feedback made me feel as a confident 54-year-old mother of whatever, 2 or 3.
Yeah.
It made me feel, and I cannot imagine what a 15-year-old or 16-year-old girl would feel like if that same vitriol was addressed to her. And it really struck me that we're all so sensitive to it, but the cycle doesn't stop.
Yeah. And these younger people, like, their brains aren't fully formed yet.
Right.
So even at my age, like, it hurts. At anyone's age, it hurts.
Yeah.
But when you're that young, you can't rationalize, oh, but this person is might be in a dark place. They don't like themselves. Like, you can't rationalize it.
Right. And you have to just stop caring.
I know.
And like, so everyone has their own knack for it. I think the most successful public personalities turn it off.
Yeah. Even I've seen Alex Earl a lot. Like, she's in the spotlight so much, and I feel like she's done a really good job of, like, not engaging. It's like anyone that and that I see peers of mine that continuously engage. I'm so sorry. Like, we've seen, like, a lot of people be canceled.
The apology tours are endless. The apology tours.
Stop the fucking apology tours. Because they're a lot of the time they're fake tears. Like,
they feel so disingenuous.
Yeah.
They feel weird. I mean, unless you've done something that requires like a proper apology, which some of you have, but most of you are apologizing for like
God knows what.
This was taken at a
Right.
We're good.
Yeah,
we're good,
babe. Like, literally, babe, you took this out of context. Move on.
We're good.
Like,
doesn't need a whole Instagram.
And most of the time, it's something so silly, and this is not life or death situation. Go focus on something more important.
Yeah. Totally.
Put your energy towards, like, something that actually is serious.
100%.
Your own life,
please.
Because it's crazy. Yeah. Anyways, I want to get into Lemi because this is like your baby now, I feel like.
My baby.
How did this all start? And like, by the way, like, every influencer, I think this is one of the top brands right now, like, period. And every influencer is so truly obsessed. It's hard to get influencers to really ride for a brand.
Yeah.
No payment, even like just genuinely, organically live by it, obsessed.
That's okay. So thank you. That's so sweet of you and generous of you to say. So Lemi is something. So this all started with Courtney. So Courtney and I have had this incredible friendship for 20 years. She was the girl in 2013. I would complain to her about not sleeping, or I'd complain to her about being super stressed at work. And she would send me something from like a website that was like ashwagandha root. And I would write her back like, can I take this? She was the girl sending me magnesium for sleep and for relaxation. And all of this, to me back then, I was like, this is voodoo.
Like woo-woo. Yeah.
No, it's witchcraft. Like, I was like, this is not something that I am interested in.
Yeah.
I didn't really believe in it. I had never really been, other than like vitamin C, I'd never really been a supplement person.
Yeah.
And Courtney had wanted to launch a supplement brand for a really, really long time. She was methodical and so precise of like how she wanted to do it, the ingredients, the doctors, like, and I knew it was going to take a really long time. She had multiple ways she could have done it. And she finally said to me 4.5 years ago, she said, let's do this together. I want to found this company. I want you to be my business partner. And that was the beginning of Lemi. And we knew we wanted to hit every generation. And one of the things about gummy vitamins is if you look at most gummy vitamins, like 95% of they're made with glucose and artificial flavors and like all the bad stuff. And so Courtney said, I'm going to take my time. It's going to take me years to develop it, but I want this to taste like candy, but I want it to be made with all the good stuff. And so that was the thesis of Lemi. And we launched it 1.5 years ago, and it's been the most fun, and building the brand has been the most fun. And working with your best friend is also, in the beginning, was scary in the sense of, oh my God, I hope that, businesses are stressful, but it's been incredible.
Yeah, it's really cool to see how it's like taken off and how people have like loved it. What were the first things that you came out with in the beginning?
So we launched Lemi Chill, Lemi Matcha, Lemi Focus. Months later, we did Debloat and Purr. Sleep came like a month after that. And then we started launching capsules. So we have a series of capsules. We have tinctures. We have so many new formats coming. And it's so fun to innovate. And Courtney, I think when we were talking about earlier, like when someone launches a brand and it just feels so authentic, Courtney like lives and breathes the wellness lifestyle.
Yes, totally.
She like lives and breathes everything to do with supplements.
Yeah.
She really believes everything that's like true to like kind of how she lives her life, which is like doing the small things to make yourself feel better, doing things for you and not for other people. And if you have a deficit in your diet, and take a supplement, and make sure you are very much aware of what you're taking. Yeah.
No, it's very cool. Like there's so many brands that have kind of come out of left field for celebrities. And with her, like especially on the show and stuff, everyone has seen her be like obsessed with this wellness world. And it's almost like, it's like funny and like everyone funny. Laughs and like, cause she has her little like things for everything, but it's like so just accurate and like it works and it's so authentic. It's like, it's been very cool to see. With the branding, how involved were you in the beginning? Like, how did you guys kind of...
So Courtney, every single like logo, like there's an illustration behind the bottle. Like Courtney hand draws every illustration.
No way.
I remember it was like 3:00 in the morning. Courtney sends me messages. I go to bed at 9 and she's on LA time.
Oh yeah.
So I wake up to always like a slew of messages. Courtney found this like 1930s candy jar that had like all these different like ribs and layers to it. And she was like, this would be so cool if we designed a bottle like this. And so we started working on a drawing the next morning. It took 2 years to get it right. Wow. And it's now our bottle. Like if you look at our Lemi bottle, it has all those like kind of ribs going up. It's kind of modeled after a vintage candy jar. That's very cool. That Courtney found on Pinterest at like 1 a.m.
That's so
And so
good to know she's scrolling Pinterest too at 1 a.m. because that's what I'm doing.
No. Courtney's the biggest pinner, and she pins. There is a board.
So good to know.
For everything.
Me too.
There is a board for a meeting we're gonna have. She's so visual, and so much of Lemi in the beginning was just visuals of figuring out like, how did we want this brand to feel? Yeah. And then the science part of it, some of Courtney's personal doctors are on our medical board. Every ingredient, like we've had year-long delays because we can't get the right ingredient at the right dosage level. And Courtney is so involved. Wow. So it's amazing because a lot of brands, you don't have that. They're involved in the marketing, but they're not involved in the science, so it's rare to see someone be involved in every piece of it.
Very cool because it has almost a small brand feel where she has kind of her hands in everything.
For sure. Like everything that's going up on Instagram or on social or everything that's going on the SFP in the back of our label, like she is in it.
Wow, that's very cool. What are some of the like obstacles that you faced kind of going through this whole process?
So one of the things which everyone faces is just like supply chain. Yeah. And operationally, like we have so many products. We're in Target, we're at Sprouts, we're in Erewhon. We're across the country. We're expanding globally. And we're launching this year alone. We have another 8 products coming out.
Wow.
Which is insane.
Yeah, that's a lot.
In different formats. We have one launching in July that you're going to die for.
Oh my God.
That's so fun and so different. So we just have a lot going on. So operationally, like our team is amazing, but there's just a lot. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
So sometimes there's delays, or like Lemi Sleep, for example, has been sold out for 4.5 months.
Oh, I know, because when we were at your event, all the influencers, everyone was like, take one. And we all were like sneaking in the back. We literally all stole an extra one. We were like, I'm so sorry. Like,
including me. No, I have none left. I have I'm taking half a Let Me Sleep every night now.
Oh my God, I'm dead.
Yeah, so that product has been sold out. Chill has been sold out for 3 months. Like, you have those moments, which obviously, listen, as a business, that's like a great problem to have, but also not a great problem. You know,
Right.
I'm so grateful that people love the product.
Yeah.
But you get frustrated when you think, oh my God, our customers haven't been able to buy sleep in 3.5 months.
Of course, yeah. But it's a good problem.
It's a good problem to have, too.
It's a successful problem
Yeah.
to have. Before Lemi, and just like kind of overlooking your career so far, what are like some of the like fails that you've had, or
my God.
some things where you've been like, fuck, this was not the move for me?
So many. And you know this cliche, and Gary Vee talks about it all the time, like, oh, but failure makes you.
Yeah.
And like when you hear it, you're like, does it?
Yeah.
But it actually, all the things that I have worked on that didn't work. I did this experiential pop-up museum called A Human. It was in Soho. It was this 10,000 square foot space. I spent my own money.
Oh my God.
And I built out this huge experience. And although in the media and on social media, it was very successful, it was like a money losing operation. So I myself lost a ton of money in doing this. And I was just so discouraged. And you know, you feel you feel everything.
Yeah.
You feel the shame, you feel the discouragement. But everything that happened there taught me for the next business.
Yeah.
And the creative director for that experience went on to be a creative director at Lemi. Like, everything is so interconnected.
Yeah.
My biggest regret, I'm 40 now, my biggest regret is not trying things that I didn't have the balls to do in my 20s.
Yeah.
Like the business you want to launch, but you're embarrassed because it's going to start off really beta with like a website that you're embarrassed about, or a product that you're like, no one wants it, I shouldn't launch it. Like, get those things out of your head.
Yeah.
Start launching things, start doing things, and start failing.
Yeah.
Because it's going to make you so much smarter. The greatest accomplishments in my life are directly associated to the previous failures.
It's so crazy because it's scary, like especially being in your 20s. That's the time where I think there's the most ego attached to everything that you do. And that's why it's so hard, because people care so much and you don't want to fail. There's this huge fear of failing, and that's stopping people from starting what they want to start.
And like social media has become so accolade driven. People are celebrating like their idea before they've even launched it.
Yeah.
Like they're on social media saying, I have something really special coming.
Oh my God.
You guys are gonna freak.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, wait a minute, launch the product and then why are we doing this now? Like,
It's so true.
It's just, so I think there's this immense pressure where you have to have all these wins and wins and wins. And of course, the way that social media is set up and just news media is set up is you only hear about the wins.
Yeah.
No one sits on this podcast and says, oh, my brand is actually not selling right now. Like I have 0 sales. Like they're telling you about all the great things. So it's very discouraging.
Exactly.
I'm 23 years old and I'm listening to this podcast right now. I'm like, oh, all I hear about is people winning.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, no one's winning.
I know.
98% of these businesses end up in failure. And the ones that win have had previous failures. Some of the greatest entrepreneurs we know failed 5 or 6 times before they had their winner.
Yeah. And
no one talks about the failures.
I know. And that's the problem. That's why I like to have these conversations and ask the people that are successful, like, what were your failures?
Yeah.
And like, when did you feel like you fucked up? Because you see on social media all these people, even like what you said, the people that are like, I'm so excited to be launching this brand new thing. You haven't launched it yet. It's not even successful.
Yeah, you haven't even launched it yet. Or like I have something so special coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Just do it.
Just do it. Just do it.
I can't. What do you see for yourself business wise in the future? I mean, I know you're kind of a ride the wave type of person.
So so right now I have my hands full in terms of I have
Yeah, you have a lot.
I have Lemi, I have my marketing company which I've had for 20 years, and then my husband has a company called Sniff, which I am involved. Yeah,
I love it.
No, Sniff.
I love it.
And Sniff has something so major coming in 2 weeks.
Oh my God.
That you're gonna it's gonna blow your mind.
Wait, I'm so excited.
I'm so excited for Phil and for the team. So that's coming, and so I'm involved in Sniff. And then I have an emergency preparedness company called Judy.
Yeah.
So I feel like at max capacity, and I'm sensitive that like I want to give all of my energy to the things that I care about and not take on too much. But I will always be an entrepreneur. So like I will go on to launch. I have more ideas and more things that I want to launch. So I'll just keep going.
Yeah. How do you even balance all of that? Like you're talking about all these different businesses. Like I don't even understand how you begin to
So you find great partners.
Yeah.
So like nothing can be done on your own. You have to find incredible business partners in each one of the businesses, because without it, it's impossible.
Yeah.
And teams of people that you trust, that have equity in the business, that treat the business like their own, because it is their own. They're a part of it. Anyone who has any successful business has just this SWAT team behind them.
Yeah. How do you know when to take it on and when to delegate?
Oh,
because I have so much trouble doing that. I always want to hire someone, and then I'm always like, "You're doing it wrong. Let me do it myself."
Yeah. So I think certainly in like with Lemi and even with Judy, like you find people that have the drive, and they have the attitude. It's like it's like this like of course attitude. Like there's this. Several people in some of our businesses that when I ask them for something, it's always like, of course. And I know that sometimes they're like, what is he asking?
Yeah.
But you're looking for that attitude, because everything else they can learn.
It's true. And a lot of the things you do in business, you have to just learn by doing.
You have no idea.
We all have no idea.
Yeah, we have no idea. We're winging it, or there's an expectation that we think it's going to end up like this, and it never does.
Yeah. Looking at our time. Oh, we're good on time.
We're good. Okay.
Okay, so you have Sniff, you have all of these companies. Judy, I want to get into really quick because I think this is so cool.
Yeah, it's such a crazy
Explain
business.
how this started.
So my business partner and I, we were friends. We're friends from Canada. We both had relatives who had been in emergencies. So like what you call like high consequence emergencies. So I had friends who in Southern California lost their home to an earthquake.
Wow.
Like way back in the 90s. And I had friends who also were in fires. So both of them in these situations had no emergency plan. They had no hand crank radio. They had no batteries. They had nothing. They literally left their home in like their pajamas with no shoes on.
Wow.
And so I thought, wait a minute, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry with no brand. There's no brand talking to families about the importance of being prepared. So we started in 2019 developing Judy. We branded it. We had this kind of Marie Kondo style emergency kit. We launched the brand in January 2020. I had never even heard of a pandemic. I mean, I guess I had heard of a pandemic, but I had never considered it for Judy.
Yeah.
February hits, you start hearing about a virus that had originated in Wuhan that started making its appearance in like different parts in Europe and America. But like, again, we were not thinking about, and in our kits, we had an N95 mask. At the time, no one knew what an N95 mask was. I barely knew. I knew that our team had said you needed to have an N95 mask for wildfires. Jenna Bush, who is a friend and also an anchor on the Today Show, she was a Judy fan, and it was March 14th. She was, at this point, coronavirus, COVID was kind of everywhere on the news. Jenna did a segment on Judy. She said, my friend Simon launched this business called Judy. It's an emergency kit business.
Wow.
And 30 seconds after it aired, we sold 2.5 years worth of Judy's.
That's insane.
And so for the first like year of COVID, we were basically completely sold out.
That is crazy.
It was insane. So that was the beginning of a crazy ride with Judy, where we launched a brand, and 3 months after, the biggest natural disaster to occur in the last 100 years occurred.
And I remember like my family had a trip planned, and this was right before like COVID, before people were like, don't fly, go in your homes. Like everyone was like, we don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So we went on the trip, and I remember my mom and sister were like, you have to wear an N95 mask.
Yeah.
Me and my dad were like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like it was at the time where people were like, does this even work? Like
it was so crazy that by April, we felt that we had a responsibility to donate our N95 masks. So we canceled 25,000 of our orders.
Wow.
And we donated the masks to the New York City Health Department.
Wow.
Because they were so low, like the nurses, doctors, like we could not get these masks. So people were sheltering in place. So we said, you know what, we're going to cancel these orders, and we donated the masks. We felt like it was the least we could do given what was going on. But it was such a crazy time to launch a business, and then to deal with like what was like the most horrific supply chain nightmares.
Oh my God, I can't even
from
imagine.
2020 to 2022.
Yeah, I feel like even now, it's permanently.
Yeah. It's after 2022, it got a lot better, but those 2 years were, talk about like heartache and just dealing with all of the issues.
I know. I can't even imagine. But so you guys are still going now, and
business is still. It's such a cyclical business, because as natural disasters happen, I think one of the challenge of the business is getting people to prepare before a natural disaster hits.
Yeah.
What happens is like when there's a hurricane or when there's tornadoes, like people are rushing to buy emergency kits, which is often too late.
Yeah.
So the trick is, it's like a psychology experiment where you're trying to get people to buy and be prepared before it actually happens. But the business has been super exciting, and you learn just so much.
Yeah, I can't even imagine how much you've learned from just being involved in that. It's like but it's such a rewarding
business rewarding
too, because you're helping people.
Yeah, you're helping people, and the people who end up using your kits and use the hand crank radio. Like we have families who lost their power, and there was an evacuation order for them to leave their neighborhood because a wildfire was moving like fast and furiously through like a surrounding community. And they used a hand crank radio, and they were able to communicate with local law enforcement and evacuate.
Wow.
And it's like those stories that, I mean, it sounds so like silly to say, and cliche, but those are the stories that motivate you.
Of course.
And that inspire you to keep going.
Of course. Yeah, no, that's incredible. And seeing like how Phil has kind of like supported you through all of this, how have you guys learned to kind of like be a team and bounce off each other?
Yeah, it's been so fun. I mean, Phil was working in banking at JP Morgan when we met and we were dating, and he was miserable. He hated it. He was never supposed to be in investment banking. Like that was just not going to be his story.
I can't picture that, honestly.
No, and he was unhappy, and he thought, oh, well, I can't leave. Like I've already invested, la, 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 la. And he's always wanted to launch a fragrance brand. He was obsessed with fragrance. He's obsessed with candles. And so as I started launching Judy, he thought, wait a minute, like maybe I could start to investigate it. And that's how the journey began. And I'm so proud of him, because in the beginning of these businesses, everyone tells you no.
Yeah.
You go to raise money. You take meetings with fragrance houses. Everyone says no, no, no. He had a year of no's. He finally got a few yeses. He started the business with his best friend, who's his co-founder.
Yeah.
And the business has just exploded.
Yeah.
It's been a rocket ship.
What is some of like the advice and ways you've been able to kind of help him through kind of your own
in
experience?
Startup land, there's a lot of different agencies and vendors that you work with. And so like we've navigated, like oftentimes like I take the hit, like I work with an agency and I'm like, well, they were a disaster, like avoid them. Certainly in raising capital, I think with Judy and with Sniff, like we learned these are the type of investors that you're looking for. These are the people that you want to avoid at all costs. These are the people that are going to make your life hell, and you're going to start to feel like you have a boss. And so those are some of the key learnings that have really served Phil well, and vice versa. Like I've learned a lot from Sniff as well.
Yeah. I have to talk about your relationship, because you guys are just like the cutest, and I love you both. How did you guys meet?
So we met on Tinder.
Oh,
We
you
met
met
on Tinder. I was driving to Montauk. Phil was visiting his family in Long Island. He's a Long Island boy, exit
Love.
58.
Oh my God.
Smithtown. And
Obsessed.
we went on a date, and Phil's like the sweetest, nicest guy. Like, he genuinely has this big heart. Like, he's an anomaly. I know everyone says this about their partner. I'm a witch. Like, I'm actually a witch. Phil is just like a genuinely good person. Like, when he meets people, he's not judging them based on like what they have or what they can do. He just genuinely is interested in meeting really good people. And so that kindness immediately was so rare, especially in gay land in New York City.
Yeah, it's hard.
And so I immediately thought, okay, this is a person that not only am I becoming best friends with, but like, this is my partner. This is a person I want to like build a life with. And so we have been married 3 years. We've been together 9. It just keeps getting better and better. It's listen, there's problems in every relationship, but I feel like I am building a life with someone. So it feels so solid and real.
Yeah.
Unlike any other relationship I've been in, where I constantly felt like it was like a game of like Tetris, where you're just like trying to like fit it in and like make it work.
Right.
Where I'm like, oh, I'm not making it work. It just kind of fits.
That's so interesting, because like, I think everyone needs to take that and bring it with them when they're dating, because that's something that I've felt so much with dating. You're trying to make something work.
Yeah.
Like, it's true. It shouldn't feel difficult. Like,
Yeah.
things are hard, but it shouldn't feel like it's a battle to.
And I have a lot of girlfriends and guy friends who I hear this word a lot from them. Like, I'm compromising. Like, there's a lot of compromising. One thing which serves us well, like, Phil and I love to do the same things.
That's great.
Like, we love the same TV shows. We love the same activities. When we land in a new city, we like to do the same things.
Yeah.
Like people like forget that, like, outside of all the other stuff, like the romance, the this, the that, like, just having things in common play a big piece of your relationship. Like, wanting to do the same things, like having the same, not to say you need to have all the same hobbies. Phil and I don't, but we really genuinely enjoy a lot of the same core activities, which maybe doesn't sound romantic.
No, it
does,
because my parents are very similar, actually. And like, opposite, because my dad is very much like a guy's guy, and he's like football, and my mom loves like interior design and fashion, whatever.
Right.
But at their core, it's because it's not about that. It's like, at your core, can you enjoy the same TV shows, and just, are you on the same page with things?
Are you on the same page? And like, do you attract the same type of energy in friendships?
Yeah. Yeah, it's similar
One of the
values.
big things I see with some of my girlfriends is like, they don't mix the friends well. So like, their husband's friends and their friends, like, they're just not meshing.
Something doesn't mesh, yeah.
Which sometimes can be okay, but in long term can be like, there's some practicality in relationships that I think Phil and I nailed really easily, which I never thought was important. And now I'm like, holy shit, it's important.
Yeah. Like, when you guys go out, like, do you have the same kind of friend
We
group?
have like pretty much the same. We have some like outliers of like friends that are different, but we have like a core family of friends, and we're all best friends.
That's so nice.
And it works so well.
That's also probably was nice for the wedding too, because you don't have like the different, aside from families, you don't have to like.
I was a psycho, so we did 2 weddings. I did a wedding.
Right, you told me.
Yeah, I did a wedding in Toronto.
Yeah.
For my family, and I did a wedding in LA for like close family, and then all of our friends. Like, I didn't. It was just easier than like combining everyone.
I get it. It's a lot.
Because, you know, the relatives want the time with you, and you're like, but I want time with my friends.
I know. It's, and at your wedding, I feel like, I don't know, just seeing from friends starting to get married, I feel like you're so chaotic in your brain, and you're just trying to make sure you say hi to every single person.
Yeah.
And like dance with them for like a second.
Totally. Everyone like needs to feel like seen. Yeah.
So that's like, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Okay, so a 2 wedding, if you can do it, do it.
If you can do it, do 2 weddings was phenomenal.
No, you guys are so cute together. And
Thank
also,
you.
by the way, you're like, I'm a witch. I'm like, you're a very, like, there's not a lot of people in the industry that you can just talk to and be genuine. And at your level of success, and you're sitting here on my couch, that
love your
says
couch.
some. But no, but it's there's something to be said about it. Like it's
Thank
true.
you.
You're very kind. You talk to everyone the same, look at everyone the same. So yeah.
I think also like I realize how now that I have perspective, it's all smoke and mirrors.
It is. It really is.
We're all just kind of, even the people at the very top have the same insecurities that we all do of, am I still relevant? Am I making content that is speaking to, like, everyone at every level is thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
So my perspective on it is like, everyone just needs to relax.
I know. And it's especially with this whole, like, everyone talking about influencers making this amount of money, getting this, getting that. Everyone needs to be listening to you right now because it's true. I think we both see it. It's not what it looks like.
Yeah, it's not what it looks like.
Like I don't even know. Like, what would you say to people? Because you know what's happening. Everyone's like freaking out because everyone's looking at like TikTokers and whatever being like, you're making so much money. And
I think that it's very common because I see this in like celebrity cycles where you obsess and you follow and you support and you build and then you turn. And like you see it oftentimes with celebrities that you covet, and then you start to feel the backlash.
Yeah.
And so I think if you're able to ride the wave, it's like you're damned if you do.
It's so true.
Like there's no way to really get around it. I think that TikTokers and content creators who are talking about fees and talking about brand partnerships openly, I think that they're going to win in the end, as opposed to like living in their like glass house being like, I'm normal just like you.
Yeah.
I think that just doesn't hit well.
Yeah.
Because you're really not. You're making, hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, and you're posting content. That is very much different than the everyday person who's working 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Like I did the 9 to 5. Like we've all done 9 to 5 grinds at various levels. So yeah.
It's a crazy. I feel for the people that are consumers of it and the audience.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to watch it, but I think it's important to also remind people that it's like what you said. It's not always what it looks like, and like fame and money and all these things. Like it doesn't get you happiness.
No.
It like especially from what we see.
It's just there's so many studies that talk about like the kind of the Venn diagram of like money and success and fame and happiness and like how none of it equates. But like we can read those studies until like our eyes fall out, but no one is ever going. No, I think no one really fully believes it.
Yeah, no one does. It's still something.
It still sounds hollow. Even as I say it, I'm like, yeah, I roll. Like you would say that as you drive to Montauk. You know,
right.
Like I get it.
Yeah.
I get how like ridiculous it sounds, but I think everyone needs to find like the lane that makes them the most happy.
Yeah.
And honestly, just focus on like your like really what gives you peace and like what wakes you up in the morning and gets you excited.
Yeah. It's so true. Thank you so much for
so
coming
fun.
on and for spilling the tea and cuddling on my couch. Where can everyone find you, and also tease anything you have coming? That you want to tease?
So you can find me on my Instagram at Simon Huck. And Lemi, you can shop Lemi or follow Lemi at Lemi or at lemilive.com.
Yay. So excited for these launches.
Thank you. Me too. I can't wait.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you haven't already, be sure to follow me at Real with CW on Instagram and Real with Carly Weinstein on TikTok. And we love you, and we'll see you in the next episode.
What a wonderful world.